Hi, this is Jeff, and this video is going to look at what's involved in trying to learn a piece of music, basically using sonar as a practice thing. So this is ArtistWorks, where there's a lesson that I was trying to learn. So in this lesson there is a transcription of what he plays, and that's here. And then basically I enter the chord changes, and then I enter the MIDI data, and then I'm able to practice it. I put addictive drums on there too. Then I'm able to practice it at different tempos. He plays it at like 170. So there it goes, nice and slow. And he's playing it about this tempo. And it's kind of hard to keep up. At least when you're learning, you need to be able to slow it down some in order to pick it up. So I basically enter the MIDI data. And here's one of the things about entering the MIDI data. So over here, this is the MIDI track for the lead. And you can set a snap to scale. If you turn that off, the darkened lines apply to the black keys. But when you switch this on, it shifts the key. In this case it's the key of C, so that it's the same thing, but if I switch to the key of D sharp, you can see the lines move. Now the nice thing is here, once you do that, you can't, when you have the snap to set there, I can't inadvertently enter a note that is on a position that's not in the key. So if I try to enter it there, it won't go there. It won't go on that black line. Now, if I left click and right click, I can drag it to an incidental position, or a flat or a sharp. So that's the first thing. And that makes it pretty easy to enter the data, right? You just go up one, up two, like you're more or less counting lines and just entering it. You don't really even have to ever think of what the notes are. You just enter them straight up. So when I say straight up, I mean by position, right? So if this note is one above that note, I know it's going to be here and not there, because I know what key it is and I've marked it here, and it's not an incidental. In this, there's a lot of triplets, and to enter triplets, you basically, you have to click here and switch to eighth note triplet, and you have to click here and switch to eighth note, oops, that's not what I want, this one, and put this also on eighth note triplet. Where's eighth note triplet? There it is. You can also set this to be last touched. Last touched is really useful. So if I were to click on an eighth note triplet, you can see, is that not a triplet? Bear with. That looks like a triplet there. So if I click there, then here it enters a triplet. Same thing if I were to click here. I'm expecting this to follow, which is, oh, there we go. There. So see here, this changes to a quarter note. Here it changes to an eighth note. There it changes to an eighth note triplet. The thing is, the snap to up here, this does not follow automatically, so you have to keep this one up with whatever resolution you want the snap to. And then it enters then you can enter the data. As in this is a piece of music that changes keys every 8 bars. So if I come here into this section, you'll see that it looks like there's a lot of incidentals. But when I just shift it to the correct key, you can see everything is more or less in key. And that's how you know that you've entered the data correctly. Also, an easy way to enter the data. So it's also handy to go ahead and record through what the musician played and drag it up here to this bar. It gives you the beats per minute that the musician played. And if you set the project at that beats per minute and then use Melodyne to extract the music that they play, then you can, and it's not perfect, but here's an example. So that is with the timing of Andreas Oberg, who's the person whose lesson I'm trying to learn. So you get the sense of how he was approaching it. The thing is too, when I extracted this from Andreas, it had the band behind him, so it didn't do the perfect job extracting the audio, but that more or less gets the picture. When I practice, I do a bunch of different things. First off, I would slow it down by a lot and then loop a section. So I'm going to mute this section here. I'm going to unmute here. And if you're practicing a song, it's really easy to get really good at just the beginning or just the end. So you want to try to avoid that. So Control-Shift-L sets your loop points. Control-Shift-G moves your now time to the beginning of your selected region. And now I can practice this, and when it gets to the end, it just starts over again. And now I can also change the tempo. So I can do, and find a tempo that's good. One of the things that I try to do is never practice at the same tempo over and over and over again. I try to shift the tempo up or down one or two. On odd days I pick odd tempos, and on even days I pick even tempos. And then move it a lot when I'm practicing. Otherwise, you get locked into a particular tempo, and if you're sitting down with a group of friends to play the tune, you can find yourself, stuck, stymied, except for to play it at the particular tempo that you practiced it at. And you can, as you go, you loop bigger and bigger sections of the tune. And avoid practicing the same. You don't always start at the beginning and practice through to the end, because then you end up really well practiced on the beginning and stumbling at the end of the tune every time. So you can, if you set loops, you can practice through to the end and just loop that until you get it, continuing to change the tempo here until you can get close to a good speed to play the tune. That's more or less what I got right here. The key things that I looked at were how to enter the MIDI data in the first place using the piano roll view and the snap to scale on. And this with the snap to scale is where in the timeline, and this is the size of the note being entered. Down here you have last touched, so you can just click on the last, on whatever note, like an eighth note if you want it to be eighth note or a quarter note or 32nd note or whatever else. And that's the key. One of the things that I find really cool is to actually use the themes, and but there are some of the themes were really awesome and really changed the look of the thing here. And when you turn this off, when you're playing it, this makes it really easy to see the notes that you're trying to follow along with. And I really do watch the piano roll view as I play so I can remember what comes next. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe.